tell people that I think the name of this game in this journey called life is to constantly evolve and go with the tide. Do not box yourself in. All of us women, or most of us women, I think at some point we do have to take a step back. And the challenge then remains how to come back. There are many times my parents will say, you're very outspoken. And I say, that is my legacy. Within what I have, I've chosen to make a choice. I have to stick with that choice and yet get the best of what I can out of that. And I've tried to do right by everybody in this story. 40-year-old men, 50-year-old men who are younger girls telling me that this is bullshit and this is not what our girls do. And I said precisely why I've written this book. So a lot of your children are also going through mental health issues. If you don't accept that, you say, ये बच्चों को नहीं होता है, नहीं होता है. लड़कियों को भी होता है, लड़कों को भी होता है. But अगर हम accept नहीं करेंगे कि there's a problem, we will never find a solution. Whether we are writers, whether we are journalists, whether we are players, in any field, if we are doing well, we deserve to get what we have done.
Hi, Jyotsna, and welcome to the AboutHer Show. This is a show where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives with us. To tell us about their successes, failures, challenges, all of that. So that not only do they get a platform to share their story and their journey, but, they also help us inspire other women. Women who are listening in, women who are watching, have had dreams and ambitions, but for some reason, have not been able to follow those dreams, pursue their ambitions. So we feel this can be a great way to inspire them. And along with women, we also get men on the show, men who champion such women, because we believe that for a truly, truly gender-inclusive world, men and women need to be allies in this journey. So if I may say so, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to have someone like you, someone with such a long and illustrious career in journalism, writing. I mean, I've been watching you, listening to you. So like I said, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to have you. So very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. I mean, those are really kind words, but the pleasure is absolutely mine. And I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Well, so am I. So am I. All right. So just like, an icebreaker, if you could tell us a little bit about, your early life, your early days in journalism, how did you start writing? How did these transitions, take place? And of course, what inspired you to do this?
What inspired me to do this is actually a very simple one-line answer. I'm a fourth generation journalist in the family. Mm-hmm. So, great-granddad, granddad, father, all journalists. My uncle is a columnist. I don't think there was, and nobody said that I had to do it. I'll be really honest. But in my mind, there was really no choice because this is the only thing I wanted to be and to do. And I still remember when I was in school and even in college, I'd be surrounded by girls. Ab kya kare, aage kya kare? And I'd be sitting quietly doing my thing because I knew kya karna hai. The only change was that they're all print media. Yeah. And so initially I was going to get into print media. In fact, the first article that I wrote was when I was 16 or 17. That was first published when I was in school. But when I came out of college, TV was just starting. And, you're young, you want to go out in the world, be more adventurous, earn more money. TV was paying more than newspapers. And so I said, okay, why don't I give this a shot, a brief shot? And that brief shot was a 20-year-long shot. And, it was, and then I just went from one thing to the other. So yes, the family background. I grew up in a family where news is discussed at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There is no other way. And it is, we don't even think we're doing anything, out of the ordinary. Perhaps we need to ask the guests who sit on that table and, find out if they are uncomfortable. But this is it, every meal in our house has been politics, news, what is happening today. You grow up in a household where there are 20 newspapers every morning. You don't start your day till, you've kind of gone through all the newspapers. I grew up with magazines and I also tons of sports magazines. So briefly, I was a sports reporter as well because I love sports. But this was the only thing I knew. And so I just went on that path. Like I said, print came later. I came back to print after I took a sabbatical when I had my girl, my elder one.
Okay.
And, you've got to keep going. So I
Yeah.
started writing again after 20-25 years. And now it is back to writing. So as I said, it's a really long detour to come back to where I should have originally started. But I've enjoyed every bit of this journey, every bit. And to say I like one better than the other, I think would be unfair because I like every bit of it. So I'm still dabbling in every bit of it. I'm writing columns. I am writing books, and in fact, a new book is just out, and I wish I had carried it here to show it. But and I do my show online, Table Talk, on YouTube. So I'm not letting go of anything.
Wonderful, wonderful. That actually in itself sounds so inspiring, being able to do what you want to do and then, enjoying every bit of it. That I think is so essential because, many of us, maybe in our times are doing things we don't really want to do. So finding that calling and being able to, get on with it and do it, I think that's really beautiful. And I think very fortunate if we can do that. Right?
No, I think it's also you have to have an open mind,
Yeah.
Sangeeta, because uh, I would love to go back to TV, but
Yeah.
TV is TV media is in such a situation right now that there's not very many options available for some of us who kind of speak up.
Yeah.
Let me just leave it at that. And you've got to be conditioned very differently to be in that space today
Right.
than we were when we started in TV.
Mm.
And but to sit and say, oh my God, that is over and now I'm done for, I think would be doing, I mean, if you don't have a choice, what do you do, right? You've got to keep moving because you've still got enough to give. So
Oh,
I always tell people that I think the name of this game in this journey called life is to constantly evolve and go with the tide. Do not box yourself in because the moment you box yourself in, you get frustrated. I could have gotten frustrated. I know many journalists, who were news readers and who were out there who were so frustrated because there were no jobs and they couldn't be on television. And I just decided, अब नहीं हो रहा है तो नहीं हो रहा है, आगे क्या कर सकती हूँ? And so I kept evolving, which is why I went back to writing. I started with columns. I came back to a book. I've dabbled with digital media as well. And I think to keep an open mind is the best way to keep moving.
yeah, I totally agree. Open mind, growth and evolution, I think that's the way to live life. That is so critical. Okay. So, Jyotsna, of course, any life, anything that we do in life is always, fraught with some challenges or the other, some hindrances. I mean, that's life, that's how it is lived. So, if you could tell us about some of the challenges that you faced in your career, and if you feel that some of those challenges were because of your gender.
I mean, it's firstly, the challenges are always that the women have to take a step back when there is family and there's motherhood.
Yeah.
And although I have to give it to my boss, Dr. Roy, I think he was the most wonderful boss because he kept telling me, don't take a sabbatical. We have a crash. And so when my elder child was born, I would drop her to the crash. And in between, news bulletins and everything, just run across and quickly check on her. And she was barely some days old. But that crash also had to shut at some point, and TV timings are long. And although Dr. Roy said that I'll try and open it for you, it wasn't fair. And my husband was traveling quite a bit, so I had to take a step back. And that I think is all of us women, or most of us women. I think at some point we do have to take a step back, and the challenge then remains how to come back. Yes. And because at some point, if you step. The moment you put your foot off the pedal of that, game called a career, there is always the challenge to come back. But so I've done it my way, and I have done it my way so that nobody can actually question me or question where I was. It was slow to start with, but I think fortunately for me there was some kind of recollection among the people. And, kind of some people try to connect the dots, put a finger to the face and then say, oh, yeah. So I think that helped me a little bit, but I had to do it the hard way, start again. And come back, gender in my NDTV then, there was absolutely no gender issue. I think we were more women than men. But I think by and large, from what I hear from other journalists outside, it's not easy. I stepped off and I went straight in, we lived in this bubble. But then now as a freelancer, as an independent journalist, columnist, it's a different life. But I think the bigger challenge is also now that we are engaging with a completely different generation.
Yeah.
That is, millennials and under, and they don't have the kind of outlook towards work that we did.
Right.
And, so you are always, and I think that the fact that also it's, that staying power is very different than us. We would grind morning to night, night to morning, and the pace have changed, the pay scales have changed. And, we are becoming we're becoming obsolete in this generation now. And, there are kids out there, they're happy to take that mic for a little bit less money, go out. And if kalko, maza nahi aa raha, just leave it.
Yeah.
We stuck around 20 years, 25 years, same job, day in, day out, because that was our passion. So, and our challenge now comes from social media, and it comes from content creators, it comes from influencers, who don't verify things and they put it out. We've also seen in the last few days how quick that downfall can be. But the point is that this is what we're competing against. People write to me and say, we can help you get more followers. And, we see that you're into content creation. I said, that's where I said, you've lost it at the first line. I'm not a content creator. I'm a journalist. I'm a writer. I do not create content. I give you the news. I give you the views, but I don't create. So that's what we are struggling with more than anything else. I think the gender debate has gone. It's never left, but I think it's been left far behind by what we're dealing with every day on social media. And these new things. I mean, there's a bestseller book by somebody, and I believe that same author has said that she's never read a book before, but she's an influencer with millions of followers, and so it's a bestseller. So you see what we're dealing with.
Yes, I totally get it. Sometimes it's very scary also. And sometimes, you just don't know how to deal with it. But, well, that's the way it is. You can't help it. That's the world we're in. Yeah. So, Jyotsna, looking back on your life, if you were to reflect and, think and tell us, who has inspired you or mentored you, in your life and in your career in journalism and writing?
So I'll begin with journalism. I've had two fantastic bosses. My first job was Business India Television, which was the first of its news channel in India. And it was with the Business India Group. And I had this most remarkable boss called Amrita Chima, just back from Germany. She used to work with Deutsche Welle for the longest time. She went back to it. But, I was raw, and she took us along. She also taught us that, we can do our work and still have a life. We would have the most amazing time, weekend meetings before, you packed up. There was no weekend, but, your weekend meetings, we packed up, would be in the neighborhood pub. We could, you worked hard and you partied hard. And she taught us the balance of getting it all right. So she was phenomenal. And of course, second one, I think, is Dr. Roy. I mean, no, I don't think. I know it is Dr. Roy, Dr. Radhika. Roy, and I think they just showed me a whole different world that had opened up the day I joined NDTV. And I always say, so I host, as I said, I host this show called Table Talk with Joe on YouTube, and a lot of people have come back to me after that and said, we've thoroughly enjoyed it because there's no yelling, there's no screaming, and we've been able to speak our mind. And I always say, I've called you here because I want to hear you. I'm not called you on my show because I want to abuse you or yell at you. And I always say that I've learned this from Dr. Roy because if you go back, I don't think you've ever seen Pranoy yell at a guest, ever. It's a very rare moment. He'll smile and get his point across. So my point is, in today's these so-called primetime news debates, what is the yelling and the shrieking? I mean, why can you not have a civilized debate? And I am still sticking to that old journalism because I believe that is the only way to conduct yourself. I think that it's just not journalism. Yell, scream, yell, scream. Nobody can hear anybody. You're
Right.
always looking. Why are you always looking angry? Like, why must you always look angry? Be angry at at when you're asking for questions. Be angry when there is a stampede. Be angry when there are bodies floating on the Ganga. Be angry when you need to be. Just because I don't get it. So anyway, so that has been my journalism inspiration. Mentoring. There's also been Aisha Kagal at work. She was my immediate mentor. Always helped me with my writing, and is one of my, along with my other tribe of very fantastic friends who kind of stand with me. But in life, I think it's my family. Starting from my grandfather, who, when I went to college in Delhi, started sending me 500 rupees every month from Jalandhar, where I am from originally. And he said not to touch this money. This money is for your newspapers. Every month you will get, and that was a lot of money to get a lot of newspapers in those times. He said, every month I am paying for your newspaper. You want to be a journalist? You start reading first. And every month I would get money. And, he would send it without fail. And he was the one who said, and more than that, he was the one who said, as a woman, you will not take any nonsense from anybody. If women in our family are not allowed to touch feet. Even at our wedding, I did not touch anybody's feet, not my parents, not my in-laws. And that was my grandfather. He said, women in our family speak up. If someone misbehaves with them, even if it's family, he would pull us back and say, no need to go and meet that family member ever. And you will never touch anybody's feet. So I think my grandfather has a lot to do with, where I am today.
Wow. That's actually, you need more such men and more such grandfathers, I think.
Yeah. And, we've got this. So my new book, Pratap, a Defined Newspaper, actually speaks about my family quite a bit because it's based on our family newspaper, Pratap. And this, if you go back into it, it talks about how our family's never done Kanyadan. So from like the time when my grandfather was married in the 1920s and 1930s, there was no Kanyadan. His sister, who was married even earlier, said no Kanyadan in the family. And this despite his mother not really being very literate. But, the women said no and the men said fine. And so I come from that kind of a family where they've all had the men have all had a voice, but they've allowed the women to have a voice along with them. And, I say, okay, after 3 generations of men, I am a woman journalist, but I wasn't really breaking any barriers because no one stopped me from being one.
Right.
Or nobody stopped anybody from being one.
That makes so much of a difference, because, it's just like you are just like anyone else, in the sense that if you have that interest, if you have the capability, then you are free to follow what you want to do. I think that thought itself is so liberating. Forget what you do with the thought, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just go out and just find your feet. I have to say that my parents and my dad and my granddad also didn't know what it, that it wasn't, that the late hours are not always kind. There are stories around and they had seen stuff. So my dad, I think, was a bit more worried because he had seen plenty in his time as a journalist and, known editors, hitting on women. And so he was a bit worried. But my grandfather said, go out, but have your base. If you don't read, you won't know.
Yeah.
And so I think they're a family that reads and reads and reads, and I'm loving the books behind you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So, of course, as a journalist and as a writer, I'm sure you've picked up lots of little, tips and tricks and lessons, which we learn, from our experience. So, are there any 3 key such lessons that you would like to share with aspiring journalists and writers?
For writers, I think the more you read, the more you write.
Yeah.
The more you sit on a table, the more you write. Do not give up. The writer's block is a thing, and yet it's not a thing because you have to keep at it. Some days you can if you say, if you want to write, you have to sit on that table day in, day out and say, okay, I've got to get this many words out today. I may delete a few of them the next day,
Yeah.
but you have to sit there and stare and stare and stare, and things will come out. Uh, I actually believe, and I also believe, like I said, the more you read, the more you grow, the more your exposure is, and don't just stick to reading of a particular genre or a particular country. I watched. So I watch all kinds of serials. Yeah, I watch Turkish, I watch Korean, I watch Chinese, I watch Japanese.
Wow. Wow.
And I enjoy watching them also because I learn about cultures, I
Yes.
learn about spaces, I
Mm.
learn about the geography. It all comes together at some point, doesn't it? Uh, that's your exposure. So
Right.
watch, read, and then just keep pushing your way through. Just keep pushing your way through. Sit on it, sit, and write. I think there is no other way to do this. Um, Fiction, non-fiction, research. Research is so critical, so critical. Fiction, the wild world. I do want to write fiction next. I've been wanting to write fiction. I've already got something written for like many words, and it just lies because I find fiction to be so beautiful. Because fiction is where you tell the truth the way you want to tell the truth. And so if you're struggling to say it, and I don't want to use fiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as for journalism, if you don't have a voice, then, and if you are not willing to speak up,
Mm.
if you are willing to only be your master's voice, then maybe it'll help you pay your rent,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
in some instances is very important as well. So I'm not negating that, but it will not make you that journalist that, you hope to become for your own sake one day.
Right.
There are many times my parents will say, you're very outspoken. And I say, that is my legacy. I look at my father, I'm like, so when did you learn not to speak up? Or when did my grandfather learn not to speak up?
Right.
And then they're like, yeah. So
Mm.
I am very proud of the fact that I have not compromised
Mm.
on anything ever in my career. Very proud of it. I have not, I'm also proud of the fact, and I always say this to my mother, I've never cut somebody professionally.
Mm.
I may not agree with some people's journeys, but I've always fought for my own. So I will never say, give me this in place of that person. I will say, give me this because I deserve it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so have the right fight, but sustain that fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so important.
Right.
Sustaining, I think that is so
Yeah.
important because many people get into things, but they find it hard to stay consistent, to
Yeah.
sustain. That is so.
Yeah.
I think that's so critical. And I love that point about fiction. I was having this little conversation with my son. So he loves reading nonfiction and I love reading fiction. So I was telling him, how it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just that, you need to add something else also to what you currently read. Because I told him, I said that fiction is actually in a way reliving your normal life. You are reading about normal people, normal situations that helps you understand behaviors, people, psychologies. There's so much to it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've written a book. I mean, I'm waiting for it to be published, but
Nice.
yeah, so
When is it out?
maybe end of this year, I'm not too sure, but yeah, so it's also a woman-centric fiction, but a fiction
Nice.
nonetheless. So like I just love the idea of telling a story. It's like in a very,
Love it.
very elementary form, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love telling many stories. Right now in my head, I have 4 story ideas already. So every day every day I'm like one of those who can come up with a book idea every second day. So I
Wow.
said, okay, now I have 4 at the moment. Let me just figure one out and get it going.
Yeah. All the best for that. All right.
Thank you.
Of course, journalism and writing, that's the
Yeah.
professional part of your life. And of course, very, very demanding, if I may say so. And then you
Yeah.
have the personal life also. And then there is this dilemma which every woman, every working woman faces, balancing the two sides. So,
Yeah.
how do you do it in your life?
Okay, then I was asked about this question recently as well.
Okay.
And, I was asked that my girls are 12 and 16.
Mm.
Uh, and I was asked, don't they miss you? So I've just come back after 10 days. And I always say now, I think a little bit of this is my time as well to regain some ground again.
Mm.
You have to. That is why I went into writing, because I could write it right from home,
Yeah.
and I think it allowed me to still do something while looking after the girls, and because my husband travels so much, and one of us had to be home. So now we're now juggling. So now when I'm traveling, he's home, and when he's traveling, I am home. Or my
Mm.
sister lives nearby; she comes across. But it wasn't easy because I was also at the top of my career when I took a step back,
Mm.
and the top of my career reading the 9 p.m. primetime news and the works. And a couple of years in the beginning, they just fly back because you worked for so long that you take a breath and say, okay, let's you're just calming down. But after that, what?
Yeah.
So after that, you have to start. So it's been a balancing act. And I think what COVID did to everybody was, because everyone was stuck at home, at the moment you wanted to step out, my girls were like, where are you going? Because now they had gotten used to you being there 24/7 again.
Mm.
But there comes a time when you can reclaim that ground again. You have to be willing to understand that your time will come back again, and you
Yeah.
fight for it. And now I think they understand, and it's also very important for me to set that example at home, that you have to be exactly as I am. You
Yeah.
have to have a job, you have to have a career, you have to be financially independent.
Yeah.
So they understand all of that, and so they understand Mama has to go, and you know this is her job, and
Yeah.
this is her work, and she needs to travel for it, just like the dad does. Sometimes I think the poor dad gets it a bit more, because they're just looking at what the mom is doing.
Mm.
It's tricky. I'm not going to lie,
Mm.
but I think I was fortunate in the sense that I could just start this independently. It's not the best option, I'll tell you, financially.
Mhm.
There's a lot of grind.
Of course.
There's a lot of hustle,
Mm.
being an independent journalist. But things fall into place. And like I said, if you're look, I'm no less ambitious than any other person,
True.
but I'm also realistic,
Mm.
because that keeps me grounded. Otherwise, I'll be an unhappy person.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
within what I have,
Mm.
I've chosen to make a choice. I have to stick with that choice, and yet get the best of what I can out of that. And I've tried to do right by everybody in this story, including myself.
Wonderful. That's not easy, that's not easy, doing it right by everyone, because
No,
obviously
it's not.
so many things to keep in mind. And like you said, it's a choice. It
Yeah,
is a choice,
yeah,
and a choice that you make keeping everybody else in mind. Can't be easy.
yes.
I mean,
And sometimes it's not a choice.
no, yes,
That
actually,
choice is not a choice,
that choice is
right?
not.
For a lot of women, that choice is not a choice.
Yes, yes. I mean, I've sailed in this boat. I'm still sailing, so I can so understand,
Yes,
because we all go through this. And but then again, I think just being resilient
yes,
and
that's the
having
one.
that thing that I want to do this. I think if you're convinced about it, you also have that courage of conviction. I think
Yeah.
you can, kind of, attain some semblance of balance or integration or whatever you're looking at, but you can do it. It's not like impossible, right?
Yeah, I think you have to enormously believe in yourself, and I do in myself, and I believe in my ability. So you
Hmm.
have to, and I don't let anybody bring it down. Nobody. I mean, I could be ghosted by people who will say, yes, we'll come on your show, and then disappear just before the show is to air or record. Too bad, your loss.
Your loss.
This,
Absolutely.
this is me. This is my story. You want to come? I will give you justice, and I will do this very well.
Hmm.
If you don't, and you're going to, so I mean, I've learned this. Anybody who writes to me, I will always reply back, even if it's a no, because I have never understood this feeling of, what is it, power? I don't get what people get by not responding to somebody,
Yeah. Yeah.
or ghosting somebody. I don't do it, and I'm very conscious of it, because I feel like people do it to me, and I'm like, why should I do it to others? Everybody deserves the dignity of a response, even if I have to say, I'm so sorry, but I can't do it. But that's all it takes. It takes 2 minutes. It takes a minute.
Yeah.
I don't see what people gain out of that power, but it's a power trip. Yes.
It is. It is. I agree. I agree. Okay. So Jyotsna, again, like we spoke about challenges. Similarly, there are setbacks and disappointments that we face in life. Maybe in your case, a story not getting the kind of reception that you wanted, or sometimes even a book or an article or whatever. So, but then that doesn't mean that's the end of it. You have to find a way to stay motivated, to bounce back. So how do you do that? I mean, these kind of disappointments.
Yeah, sometimes the show isn't it doesn't get the kind of traction. Some episode you think is done really well. I think it's a brilliant story that we've just spoken about, but it doesn't get the traction. I feel like my first book, somebody plagiarized a bit of it and did better than my book, and I said, whoa, or the fact that your first book came out during COVID, which was never ideal, right? And it's really upsetting. But okay,
Yeah.
take care. I'm going to go out there and try harder next time. I won't even say harder, but I'm going to continue doing what I believe in doing. And something will click somewhere. So some episodes continue to click. I have come out with my second book, and and you learn. So I've learned what more I can do this time around. I have learned how to tweak things around to, make it a bit more successful, or make it a bit more mainstream. I think it's a learning process.
Yeah.
It's always a learning process. And I think to sit down and just say, nahi hoga aur mujhse, kabhi hota hai actually, some days, very rarely. I say, oh my God, do I really need to do it? But I am fortunate enough that I'm supported by such amazing women around me, and they will be like, nothing doing. You've reached this way on your own, starting all over again. There is no way we are going to let you now quit. Because there's a daily grind. I write a weekly column for the Gulf News. I was writing the book with my father. I do a show twice a week, and I'm always hustling that means hustling for 2 guests a week.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, something has to give. Let me just stop one thing. But then these women are like, you are not going to give up. You reached here on your own, starting again. Do not. So I haven't. But I mean, I think it's also, it's okay to feel like that once in a while.
Okay. I think it's okay to acknowledge, yes, we do feel, those days when you feel bad and you want to have that little pity party, around you. That's
Yeah, exactly.
But then
That's it.
the thing is that we've got to get up and get moving. That's also fine. So
Yeah.
stay the course, yes. But if you need
Yeah.
to kind of, and I think, facing, addressing, and accepting an emotion is okay. Like we all love to celebrate when we are happy. Similarly, if you're sad or like depressed or demotivated, it's okay. It's fine. Accept it. This is also part of life. And like you said, it's teaching you something. So I think it's essential to pick up those little lessons which you're being taught, right?
Absolutely. Those are just lessons, and pick yourself up or take a break. If you really feel like, oh my God, it's really not happening, take a break. 1 week, 2 weeks, you'll come back so rejuvenated. Every time I've taken a break, I come back like, oh my God, what's next? What's next? What's next? Let's go. It always works.
That's the you coming out, the real you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Jyotsna, you have 2 daughters and, of course, surrounded by women. And I'm sure you are, a source of inspiration to many women and many aspiring journalists and authors out there. So, what advice would you like to give to the young girls of today, who are on the threshold of their working lives, personal lives, all of that? Not necessarily aspiring journalists, but even otherwise.
Read. Don't stop reading.
All right.
That is very important in my book. Don't stop reading. There's a world outside for the young ones, I'd say there's a world outside of social media. Explore it, play a game, play a sport. Very important. We all believe in that in this family. And I think don't believe social media. Yes. Please pick up the newspapers. Please pick up. When my new book came out, and a PR person that I had spoken to said, oh, nobody's reading a book. So bad. You guys, I feel bad for you. It's such a shit profession to be in. I said, not at all. I said, we need to change the narrative. It's not funny. And she was laughing. I said, I don't really find it funny that people are not reading, because it's the worst thing anybody can do is to not read. Yeah. You read to expand your horizon, to understand the world and not live in a tunnel. Your that tunnel vision, that is very That is all being flagged today because, the ideology has taken over and you're not really learning. There's a world out there. But if you're going to be stuck in that rut, you're only going to take what you listen to at home by two, three people. That is going to just completely influence your thought process. No, please think for yourself.
Right.
Learn to expand your horizons and think for yourself. After that, whatever your ideology is, great. But learn to expand that. Don't listen to just anybody blindly. Don't go to social media blindly. Don't just follow the handles that are echo chambers.
Yeah,
You
correct.
know. So, and that unfortunately, I think is the biggest challenge at the moment for anybody. There is, and there's regional news. I think those journalists are doing a fantastic job of actually the real news. They are trying to bring out what is still happening, and I'm really glad to hear that those guys are kind of still doing well and holding on into this system, because journalism is meant to speak truth to power, right? And without that, that's not journalism. So if you want to get into it, understand that it's a basic tenet of journalism.
Yeah.
And for that, you need to be very strong as a person, not easily influenced by what people say, what you read on social media, or what you see on reels, and understand that there's a lot of misinformation floating around.
Correct. I think that's very, very essential. So you have to know what's the real thing, you just cannot. And that for that, I guess, get more exposure, get more awareness. And like you said, read. That's so essential.
Yeah.
Just don't keep yourself restricted. Yeah. So Jyotsna, going back to the times when you started working or, growing up and then working and all of that. And though, of course, as you mentioned, you grew up in a family where, gender was never an issue in terms of holding you back or, some such thing. But of course, a lot of women face this. In fact, majority of the women face these kind of biases. And though we've made a lot of progress in the last few years in terms of women being there in most fields, and making a name for themselves, we still find that, there are a lot of hindrances, there are, a lot of hurdles, so to say, that they have to face. So, in your space in particular, journalism, media, what are the challenges that you think women still continue to face?
I think it is the hours, the long hours, I think those are still a challenge. Although, again, like I said, during those days in NDTV, Radhika Roy, I think, was so particular. I think we really worked in the best of places. We had drops at night. There was always a guard, in that dropping us at night. But a lot of women also who were covering rural in the hinterland, who are going to conflict zones. That isn't easy. But having said that, I think this is also our job. It's a job. A man or a woman, it's a job. And I think we are as good as any reporter who's a male reporter covering it. We are as good and as capable as them to report from anywhere in India or abroad or in any conflict zone or in any happy situation. I think we're pretty much at par. But I can see that in some families that could be an issue, traveling or going out of town or going into zones that are not comfortable. I think that could continue to be an issue. Although I find that more and more, there have always been a lot of women. And I do meet many, many girls who are going to, who are looking at this as a profession. And I hope that more and more of them come, because that's the only way to change any narrative, is to come together and, take over.
So, which brings me to my next question. How do you think women's voices, in journalism and literature can help or have been, helping in shaping, public, how should I say, discourse and societal norms?
Okay, so it's really funny now that we're speaking about women. I think just some clip came up on social media today. I don't know if it was the Oscars or something from last year, and it was Natalie Portman, and I think she had to announce with another gentleman, and I can't remember the actor's name because I was so focused on what she was saying. And the guy said, we are here to announce to the director of the year, and she said, and here are the names of from the all male list. And she said her point, right?
Yes.
And that's it, right? So I think there are these manners, as we call it. And I think you have to keep questioning it. We keep at it. A lot of women do it. They do it on social media, and that's where I say social media is for the right reasons as well, right? You've got to question, why are women not in that space? I mean, there are certain, and that's globally. I mean, I've heard of a panel, and then it also backfires in a sense, because then you say, oh, we have to have that token one woman, and then you just put somebody who's not equipped, or who isn't the right person or the right fit, just because you have to put a woman representative in a spot or in a slot. We're not here to be slotted.
Absolutely.
We are here because we deserve to be here just as much as any man does. And I think that has to change. Look, it's a fact that we come from a patriarchal society. India is a patriarchal society. In many belts, that is still a reality.
Yes.
I'll tell you, when I wrote my first book, Stone Shame Depressed, there was a lot of, I got trolled the most by middle-aged, 40-year-old men, 50-year-old men who are younger girls, telling me that this is bullshit and this is not what what our girls do. And I said precisely why I've written this book, sir. Because it is people like you who live in denial, who are trying to put our women into these boxes because you don't want them to step out. And I think the moment they step out, you become uncomfortable that they have stepped out.
Yes.
But we have to normalize that, and we have to step out, and we have to step out, and we have to keep stepping out. We have to step out in the right way. I am not somebody who says, use it, because there are certain women who will play that feminism card, and that goes wrong. And then it kind of takes away from the real fight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So my point, even when I wrote that book, was that there is stuff happening to your girls. Your girls are involved with boys even when they're in school. Just because you are a patriarchal society, just because your thinking is patriarchal, does not mean things are not happening. Things are happening. Acceptance is key. And the moment you accept something, you'll be in a better position. My point is, a lot of your children are also going through mental health issues. If you don't accept that, you say, बच्चों को नहीं होता है. नहीं होता है. लड़कियों को भी होता है, लड़कों को भी होता है. But अगर हम accept नहीं करेंगे कि there's a problem, we will never find a solution. And I think so we are still fighting that. We're still trying to come out of that patriarchal. We come across that. And social media has made it all the more easy for anonymous men to keep giving it back to women wherever they don't. There's ageism, right? Also, there's ageism. And women face the brunt of ageism on social media now.
They do.
Because, why should you continue to look a certain way? Why should you be speaking when you're 40 or 50? Why should you be wearing heels when you're 40, 50? Why should your stomach be showing when you're 40, 50? You hear all kinds of things. But who are you to tell us?
Right.
Who are you to tell us?
Yes.
But unfortunately, social media. So my point is, don't give up. Stick to your stand. Let them troll. I used to be like, okay, let me keep quiet. There's so much misinformation floating. They're trolling me. सुबह गालियां मिल रही हैं. मैं कहती हूँ कभी चुन के मैं भी सुनाती. लेकिन नहीं, ऐसे नहीं चलता. The more you keep quiet, the more misinformation and trolling spreads.
Yes. And then they also
you take on the bullies, and then they'll zip it. The moment you say, listen, I've got your profile. I figured out where you work, and I'm going to share this. They disappear. They block you. They hide. That is the way to take them on. Have a voice, and like I said, we're not here to be slaughtered. We are here. We are mainstream. We are Indian women. We deserve our place in the sun. It's been a long time coming, but it is ours. And whether we are writers, whether we are journalists, whether we are players, in any field, if we are doing well, we deserve to get what we have done.
Absolutely.
We deserve the accolades. We deserve our place.
I agree. And like you rightly said, it is very essential also to call out. You can't always take everything lying down, because then it becomes a habit. They normalize that. We have to normalize calling out also. That you can't always get away because you are wrong, So we are calling you out, and we are saying that this is wrong, and you learn to accept it. Yeah.
And it's a horrible, I mean, I look at these, must be 20-year-old, 30-year-old men who got nothing to do. You sit on social media. Hey, auntie, aaj kaam nahi hai tere paas. this ability to be rude and nasty because you have got social media and you're anonymous.
Yeah.
Just they kind of weaponized it against women. And what I tell women, no, let them keep up. Bolne do, barking dogs. Dogs, though I love, so I won't even say barking dogs. But
Yeah, I get.
bolte jao. But you have to say sorry. If you are going to take a panga with me, I'm going to respond.
Correct. Right. So it's uncanny, Jyotsna, but how, I mean, my next question kind of, is like not only stemming from what you're saying, but it's like I already have the question. So it's uncanny the way it's coming out. But again, my next question is about mental health of women. Like post COVID, there is awareness. There is
Yeah.
also acceptance to a large extent that mental health issues exist. And of course, they don't have anything to do with gender. Men and women both face these kind of issues. But do you think women's mental health issues in particular do get addressed the way they should and dealt with, or they're also like one of those things which are brushed under the carpet?
In this, I think it's the same with men. I think actually it's worse for men. Because men are not, at least in our country, again, that patriarchal, misogynist society, men are strong, men can't cry, men can't be upset, men cannot have tears. I feel bad for them in this aspect because, the moment they want to have recourse or they want to, get help, they will be labeled as weaklings,
Yeah.
even more than women. So I think in this aspect, it's tougher for men in this country to get help than it is for women. And combined, both of them are in a tough spot. So things are changing, though. Counselors tell me things are changing, and I think it's tougher for the younger generation still because coming back to it, it's always like, "Bachon ko kya problem hai?" It's school kids or something. Oh, just leave it; they'll be fine. Yeah, go out and play; you'll be fine. No,
No, you won't.
they will not be. And things are changing according to counselors, and I've spoken to a fair amount of counselors over the years since my book came out because I've really dealt on this. I've done shows on mental health, and I think one thing that kind of stops people also from coming is the price. It's not
Yeah.
If finances is a constraint, then you would not want to go and spend 2,000 rupees on a session. You would rather go and spend it on, something for the house, for your livelihood and, running the house. And I think that, again, stops a lot of people from seeking help.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet. A lot of people are doing such amazing work. A lot of people also do it pro bono. But I think mental health for men is tougher in the country than it is for the women.
So yeah, tougher, yes. But do you think women get that attention that they want when it comes to mental health, or like not much?
Oh no. I still think that in middle class India, women will just have to carry on doing what they do. They have to run the house and they have to keep hustling.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have the time. Again, like I said, the finances, and I don't think it gets the importance that it should. It probably is getting it in the upper middle class, but again, lower middle class, कौन सोचेगा इन बातों के बारे में? There are certain issues that are just not discussed. Marital rape, mental health, these will just they just go along meandering like a stream.
Yeah.
चलता जाएगा, कुछ नहीं बदलेगा, जहाँ पहुंचेगा पहुंचेगा.
होता रहा है, होता रहेगा, that sort of a thing.
होता रहा है, बिल्कुल.
All right. So Jyotsna, anyone who's considering a career shift, which, and especially in their midlives, which I like to term it as, midlife rebooting. When you decide to
Yeah.
switch and start doing something which could be diametrically opposite to what you've been doing all your life, could be related
Yeah.
also, but lot of people are doing different things. What do you have to say about it?
Go chase the sun, wherever it takes you. I do. I've seen so many people shifting, even men. My cousin who was a chartered accountant, family firm for years and years, one fine day just gave it up. He was like, I never wanted to do it. So a lot of people get stuck having to do what they're expected to do. And I think it's only when we get older, we are financially more independent, or, when you say, okay, time is running out. And when am I going to do something for myself is when we say, okay, enough. So I am all for it. If you think you can, And there's something else that I'll be really honest, I say this a lot now. Uh, I was very one-dimensional,
Mm,
just a journalist. So I've just gone either around that same little, post. But I think it's very important to have more than one skill in today's life.
right.
That because if one falls, you have another skill to fall back on. I didn't really,
Mm,
so I had to still make the most of a profession that is not at the at the height of its glory anymore.
mm,
Uh, but this is what I know, and I don't have that other skill. So I always say, uh, learn more than one skill. No,
right.
this is my new learning.
Mm.
Learn more than one skill, so you always have a backup. If one doesn't work, there is something else that you enjoy that you can fall back on.
That's so, so true because we live in uncertain times. You never
Yeah,
know what is going to happen next. So, yeah, definitely have some options, some fallback options, so to
yeah,
say, that you can pick on
yeah.
in case
Mhm.
things don't work out. Okay, Jyotsna. So, what's next? Any new projects, books? What's in the pipeline?
Oh no, nothing for nothing for me. Currently, it is only marketing, 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 getting this book out everywhere because it just came out this week,
Right.
and I've written this with my father. So
Hmm.
this was, it was an amazing experience. But we have to get this book out to all parts of the country. We're launching it soon. We've had one launch in Punjab,
Hmm.
and we've got multiple other events. So this, and then hopefully, like I said, I have 2, 3 other. Uh, Book ideas already. So I
Okay.
want to get back, like in a couple of months when this calms down, get back to writing the next one. And I'm very proud of the show I do on YouTube,
Hmm.
on my channel, Jyotsna Mohan.
Yeah.
Very, very proud of it, actually. And to continue to grow on that.
Okay.
And because that is, again, something I enjoy. I enjoy interviewing people. Uh, I rather interview than be on the side, I'll be really honest. Uh,
Well, then you're getting
so
giving me
I'm
a chance to interview, no?
no. So yeah, I do really enjoy speaking to people,
Hmm.
and I go beyond their stories, beyond what you've heard about it in the newspaper, to try and find out why a person is why a, how a person has reached where they have. It's not, say, for Neeraj Chopra, and I've spoken to him 2 or 3 times on my show. I
Hmm.
don't want to know when you're going to hit that 90 meters. I want to know how you managed to throw an 88 or an 86, or how did you get to be one of India's finest sports persons? Not, I don't want to know about your practice. I want to know about you as a person. So I've kind of stuck to deep diving into personalities, whether it is Kabir Bedi or anybody.
Hmm.
I've had such wonderful guests, that I kind of, so I'll try and bring a balance to it, because at the end of the day, Indians love politics, and I've tried to go beyond it, but हार के मुझे politics पे ही काफी focus करना पड़ता है.
Hmm.
But I do enjoy speaking about mental health, disability, issues that need our attention. So that continues to hold focus. I enjoy moderating events, book events by and large.
Hmm.
I enjoy public speaking, so I do public speaking courses.
Hmm.
And yes, so just being there and sharing and learning.
Lovely, lovely. So more power to you. All the best to you.
Thank
And
you.
let us see many more of your books coming out, projects as well. So, Jyotsna, before we end the show, we have this last little bit, which is the rapid fire round. 5 quick questions, 5 quick answers, right? So, all set? All right.
As I ever will be.
So, here goes. The first one. One word that describes your writing style.
This is quick. Mm, Gravitas?
Ah, okay. All right. Okay. All right. The next one. If not journalism or writing, what career would you have pursued?
Athlete.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Okay. Next. A story or an interview that changed your perspective.
Of course, there are many. There are genuinely many.
Okay.
For instance, Kabir Bedi. I'll have to go beyond the one word here.
Okay.
Kabir Bedi's son was my senior in school, and when I interviewed him, and and he died by suicide some years ago. So when I interviewed him, he spoke about that suicide. And and I think it was a bit of learning for both of us, because I kind of told him that this was a boarding school, and I told him that he was one of the first guys, being my senior, who came up to me. I was so lost, and said, all will be well. And so I think it was a learning experience. There have been many like that. Neeraj Chopra, I learned how you can be a celebrity and yet be a good person. A journalist friend, Anamika Chatterjee at Khaleej Times in Dubai, I learned bravery and courage. Her mother has Alzheimer's, and her mother does not recognize her anymore. That feeling when you walk in through the door and your mother says, "Who are you, beta?" So there are many, many stories, actually. It's very hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah. All right.
But having said that, even my book, my last book, I think so many children that I spoke to collectively also taught me that this younger generation, Gen Z, I think it would be, is very fraught and is very on edge. That's the other thing I learned through that book. Very on edge.
I guess, yeah. Next, simple one. Tea or coffee? What fuels your creativity?
Green tea.
Oh, okay. All right. And finally, the last one. One historical figure you'd love to interview.
If I could go back in time, I would put my grandfather on the other side. My grandfather was a freedom fighter who went to jail 9 times by the British, which is all in this book. He was a revolutionary with Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad, fought the battle with them. And later on in independent India, a bomb was sent to him by Punjabi terrorists that exploded, but he survived. 2 other people died. And yet not once did he lower his voice. He was very well known. I mean, he was very close to Jawaharlal Nehru. Everything is in this book. So if I feel like I missed out, I was too young, and there's so much more I should have known. So if I could, I would ask him to sit down and start all over again, so I could learn so much more than I know today. I felt like time ran out. I was too young. When you're young, he's just your grandfather and you take snippets. Now I know what a great man he was. And he was historical. I mean, everybody kind of knew him. And we've had such a wonderful response to the book, for the simple reason that people remember him and people remember the newspaper, because this was launched in 1919 in Lahore. So it's, all the old timers that I go out come up to me and say, well done. So he is the one I would actually put on that spot, on that seat.
Okay. All right. So I'd love to
Not one line, not one word, many words and many lines.
That's fine. And I would definitely love to read this book. So all the best with the launch. And of course, I'm sure
Thank you.
Pick up. And thank you so much for being on the show. It was absolutely wonderful. And like, you love talking to people, so do I. And as I mentioned during the course of our conversation, you gave me the opportunity to put you on the other side and speak to you. So I guess, a little bit of everything is what makes this life go. So thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you for having me. And yeah, it was lovely chatting. I can keep chatting, as you know, but I just want to do one last promotion, because my publishers say I have to promote. So I just want to say that Pratap, a Defiant newspaper, is out on Amazon, but it's also out in bookstores, wherever you get your books. Please read it and leave us a nice review, guys, because as authors, half the work is writing, but the other half is trying to tell and spreading the word that, we've worked for 2.5 years on this book. And, if you could just take a few days to read it and, 5 minutes to write a review, it would mean the world to us. Thank you. And Sangeeta, my pleasure. And I hope to see you at the launch.
Yes, of course. Yes. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her Show.